There's increasing shared understanding that China is threatening the United States. Many believe that China is trying to replace the United States as a global power, that it's following an aggressive foreign policy, that we need to stand up to it by increasing our military presence, by improving our own infrastructure. In effect, much of what we do these days is framed in terms of standing up to China. Now, let me first of all agree that China is a vicious authoritarian regime, that it took more than 1 million of its Muslim citizens and put them in detention camps in an attempt to deprogram them, that it oppressed and crushed the democracy of Hong Kong, and that is simply imposing all kind of heavy suppressive regulations on all its citizens. So condemning China's violation of human rights is something we all need to do and agree. But it does not follow that a country which is oppressively at home is also following an aggressive foreign policy. There are several countries in that category of oppressive regimes at home who have no ambition or capacity to impose their regime on other countries. Singapore, Saudi Arabia, even Vietnam, which has many policies at home similar to China, is not an aggressive nation. Is China really aggressive? If you look at it specifically, it didn't grab land like Russia did. It didn't invade Syria the way Turkey did. It settled disputes with countries on its border. There were some clashes with India, but they were very small. 220 soldiers died. I don't make light of anybody's life, but their dispute with India was quickly settled. China settled its difference with Philippines. It has not grabbed Cambodia, allows weak countries on its borders. True, it did grab some piles of rocks, which who's not clear who owns them, and build islands on them and even militarize them. But that doesn't amount to an aggressive foreign policy which threatens the United States. Above all, China is very besieged by a lot of domestic problems which make it much weaker than it seems. First of all, it has a very rapidly aging population because they followed for many years the one-child policy. As a result, they have ever more old people, ever fewer younger people to take care of them, to feed them. Second, while the economy is growing, the income per capita is still very, very low. It's similar to that of El Salvador and Nicaragua. And what's happening now, about half the Chinese moved into the middle class, but the other half of the Chinese are still poor, now all demanding what the first house has gained. And the middle classes, far from satisfied, now that they got homes and cars and such, now they demand good services. They want good health care, they want good education, and by the way, some rights. So because China's legitimacy is now depends on providing affluence with everybody, everybody wants more and more, and no signs that China can provide all its population demands. In effect, there are thousands of demonstrations inside China protesting various parts of the government policy. Above all, because China has very few natural resources and is very dependent on the importation of energy and raw material. It's very vulnerable to even a slight blockade. And China is fully aware that the United States refused to sign the pledge that it will not be the first to use nuclear weapons, even if the other side doesn't. And as you see in my book, published plans of the war against China show that the United States intends to hit the mainland hard in any conflict with China. So China is both inherently, internally, much weaker than it seems, and much more vulnerable to any Western blockades, not to mention attacks. So I think before we go farther down that road of treating China as a major threat, before we slip toward World War III, we should have another look at China. Keep pressuring it to improve the way it deals its own people, but worry less about its potential of attacking other people. I cannot, in a short presentation like this, spell out my argument as I like to do. But you find everything I have to say about that in a short book, Avoiding Wars with China. I've been to war, and if anything we can do to avoid another Vietnam, another Afghanistan, another world war, I think we should go a long way to see if we cannot live together with China rather than increasingly treating it as an enemy.